Welcome to today's Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news. I am George. Some of you guys may have noticed I'm a little bit late, and that's because I did it again. I started talking for about 10 minutes, and I just noticed that the stream was not going, so that is why I'm late. I feel silly because I just had a really good intro, and you guys missed it. So now you don't get that intro anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome. Welcome to today's Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news. I am George. Of course, there's a lot to talk about. I'm feeling the excitement once again, but I've been shouting to myself for the last 10 minutes and I feel really silly. The biggest news, of course, today is BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, is now turning bullish on Bitcoin, more so than even before. And there's an interesting quote or statement about how Bitcoin makes USD less relevant, and I think that's very important. So I want to dig upon that, and also everything else that is going on. So yeah, again, I feel I feel kind of silly, but anyways, I'm glad you guys are tuned in. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, also hit that notification bell, and you see my Twitter handle below. Make sure you follow me on Twitter to get double notified and to see other stuff that's going on. Of course, you do see my BTC QR code for the Vegas fund. Those of you guys that want to chip in for a Vegas trip next year. And of course, I have my Patreon page. So if you guys want to talk to me and other like-minded individuals and get some exclusive content, then feel free to join. All right, guys, let's get started. Let's dive right in. So, Bitcoin at 18.8, which is a little bit higher than this time yesterday, but overall still a little bit below 19,000. Right now, it's pretty obvious that Bitcoin is up and up and up and up. And even though we had this dip and the whales, did their whalish things and caused FUD and caused some of you guys to sell your Bitcoin to them, which is a big no-no. You don't want to do that. But they were successful in that. But if you just remove this, you look at it, Bitcoin is still just climbing and climbing and climbing, just like before, right? You could see before, maybe not to this extent, there was a drop. And guess what happened? This V-shaped recovery, and then slowly but surely kept going up and up and up. Same thing here, up and up and up and up. Right here, up and up and up and up. And that is what we're seeing right now. You can see up and up and up and up. Right, so pretty soon we're going to smash through this 19.5, and then we're going to head to 20,000. And I still do think that's coming this week. I think the momentum is here today, especially with BlackRock, with their announcement, and also just everything else going on. The institutional FOMO is not stopping. It's only increasing. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. So if you're selling out because of FUD caused by the whales, don't fall for it. You're losing out. You don't want to lose your Bitcoin and give it to the whales because they want your cheap Bitcoin. They want to accumulate because they know where it's going to go. And you don't want to be falling for that, right? Right now, definitely a good time to be a Bitcoin holder, a crypto holder. Today, too, altcoins are doing actually pretty well. Altcoins are actually coming up even faster than Bitcoin. So I do think Bitcoin is right around the corner. And today's only Wednesday, so we have time. We definitely have time. I do think it could be today, tomorrow, Friday, this weekend. We're going to see some explosive again. We're going to test 19.5, and then we're going to test 20,000. And then if we break through that psychological level, because 20,000 is really that big psychological level that's holding everyone back right now, because people just can't believe that we can get past 20,000. But once we do, that's when the floodgates open and FOMO will really start hitting, not just with the institutional investors, but also retail investors. It's going to be marvelous, okay? And it's coming, I believe, this week. And if it's not this week, so what? Next week. Big whoop. We know what's happening. The trend is up and up and up. All right. So we know that last week, I think this was last week or 2 weeks ago, BlackRock CIO, not chief information officers, chief investment officer. So this is someone that's really, really relevant. Anyways, he has a chief in his title. That means he's someone important, right? He stated that Bitcoin is here to stay, and Bitcoin can replace gold. Not entirely, but he said a large amount of gold in the future. And I made this point yesterday, and it just makes a whole lot of sense. People are recognizing, yeah, gold's been around forever. You could buy gold, you could hold gold, right? And it's a store of value, but it's a store of value that never gains. Within the last decade, it has not gained. In fact, gold is coming down now because of excitement with the COVID vaccine and how that basically make things normal again, right? So gold is actually like crashing right now. So Peter Schiff is not having good days right now. But people are now recognizing that Bitcoin is a much better and 21st century replacement of gold because it is a store value, but it's also technology, right? And it can actually be used for transactions, which you can't say any of those things for gold, right? So BlackRock's chief investment officer already noted that, yeah, Bitcoin is here to stay. And if in the future, you're talking about all these big guys, asset manager, hedge funds, family offices, accredited investors, anyone else starts replacing their gold with Bitcoin, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that's going to be flowing into Bitcoin, right? So that was already said last week. Now, the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, he went on and said something else, right? So he thinks that Bitcoin not only can replace gold, but it could actually evolve into a global asset. So this is, I guess, all Bitcoiners' dream, right? That Bitcoin, and Jack Dorsey's dream, because he says it all the time, that Bitcoin can possibly become that day-to-day transactional or transaction currency, right? What does that mean? That means that one day, everything will be conducted with Bitcoin. So think about that. Think about how big that is. So the CNBC, they covered what he basically said in front of this audience, right? And to quote, Bitcoin has caught the attention and imagination of many people, still untested, pretty small market relative to other markets. And then to go on, these big giant moves every day. It's a thin market. Can it evolve into a global market? Possibly. So he's recognizing yes. And what he's saying is actually pretty good. It speaks to the potential of Bitcoin, right? So if you're looking at what he's saying, it's a pretty small market relative to other markets. Yes, that's a good thing. Bitcoin is 350 billion versus gold 10 trillion, right? That shows you the potential of Bitcoin. So that's actually not a bad thing, right? That's actually a really good thing, because if you want to buy something and you want to see it increase in value, yes, you want to see that potential, right? And he goes on and says it's a thin market. So yeah, these giant moves, these are what, we've come to love, right? Giant drops, giant pumps, right? You got to know how to play the game. And if you take advantage, you're going to win, right? So yeah, these are not bad things, but he's saying it could possibly evolve into a global market. And then for this rest of the video, you got two analysts that's kind of looking at or kind of digesting what he's saying, right? So right now, the world currency is based on USD. Everyone is using USD. So the implications of this, is that, think about other countries, right? Now they're starting to adopt Bitcoin, and people are adopting Bitcoin, and corporations are adopting Bitcoin, right? So pretty soon, it seems like USD is just not relevant. It just gets less and less relevant. So it makes the USD less and less relevant, and it makes Bitcoin more and more relevant, right? So who knows? Who knows? Maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road, we're all using Bitcoin instead of USD. Seems far-fetched, but who knows, right? Maybe not in the US, but maybe cross-border transactions or, business dealings or whatever, they could all be conducted with Bitcoin. Now, some of you guys may think, well, Bitcoin's too slow for that, but that's why we have second layer solutions, and that's why there's so many companies that are building a second layer solution for Bitcoin to help transist, right? To help this happen. So I think it's very bullish. You have the top two guys. You have the CIO and the CEO of BlackRock, which is a company that basically everyone respects and listens to, really. And both of these top guys are saying good things about Bitcoin. They're not coming out like the days of old where all these companies coming out and say, I think it's a tulip bubble, it's a Ponzi. It's not, they're not saying that anymore. They're saying possibly it could replace gold. Possibly it could evolve into a global market. I mean, they're coming too, right? So I think this is very, very, very positive, very bullish for Bitcoin. So, all right. In addition, I guess this kind of, not in addition, but this kind of proves that point. Right now, Blockstream says there's about $500,000 worth of Bitcoin that moves around the globe every second. And that's with this current limitation on transactions, right? So imagine once this starts scaling up, this is per second, by the way, which still is not that big, but once this starts scaling up, 5 million, 50 million, 500 million, 5 billion in the future, yeah, that's when it's going to get crazy. PayPal also thinks so. So PayPal, we know, have become bullish on Bitcoin recently. And their CEO, Dan Schulman, tells the Web Summit, which is ongoing right now, and he told 100,000 attendees that it's time for crypto right now, that it is time and we need to evolve it. That's pretty bullish too. To quote, I think that if you create a financial system, a new and modern technology that is faster, that is less expensive, more efficient, that's good for bringing more people into the system for inclusion, to help drive down costs, to help drive financial health for so many people. So over the long run, I'm very bullish on digital currencies of all kind. So that's a mouthful, right? So basically, crypto is faster, or it can be faster, less expensive, more efficient, and it's good for the system because it's not controlled by any entity, well, at least the decentralized ones, right? It helps drive costs down, it helps drive financial health, right? He's talking about DeFi. When he says financial health, he's not saying health, financial health. So he's actually referring to DeFi. So he's very bullish on crypto overall, right? So again, another giant, financial giant, now is really gung-ho about crypto and Bitcoin, and that is very positive indeed. All right, so now you have someone, Willy Woo. A lot of people listen to Willy Woo because he's a chartist. He has been right many times in the past. He is saying now that his target before of 200,000 Bitcoin by the December 2021 is now conservative. He's changing his tune and saying most likely it's going to reach 300,000 by the end of 2021. And this is the chart that he posted. So you could see whatever he's using, whatever indicators, but you could see that this is the last 4-year cycle. And I'm going to show you guys this before I go in Q&A, because this is exactly what I showed you guys for months or years now. But basically, it took this long before the last 4-year cycle was coming to an end, and then boom, Bitcoin went up, right? So now you could see, yeah, we have broken through the previous high, right? And guess what's going to happen? Boom, up. And when it goes up and it goes the same amount percent as last time, Bitcoin is at $300,000. And seeing how much FOMO is happening with institutions, and these institutions have hundreds of billions of dollars on hand, right? And think about how much gold they have on hand. If they transist like even 10% of that, okay? 10%, 20% of that into Bitcoin. I'm not even talking about 100%. Just 10 to 20% of all that money flows into Bitcoin. It's going to shoot Bitcoin up to 300,000 easily, and that's without retail FOMO. So the potential is definitely there. Okay, and then kind of to prove this point in terms of institutional FOMO, I've been talking about Grayscale for some time now. So there's a couple things. Number one, they're announcing a 9-for-1 stock split for their Ethereum trust. So their Ethereum trust has grown substantially over this last year, just like Bitcoin and others, but they're announcing 9-for-1. So good for them, which means there's a lot of interest in Ethereum at this time. But here's the most telling thing. So I pulled up their assets under management, right? So you could see that Bitcoin, this is from a week ago, and I'm going to compare it to today. So this is exactly 1 week ago, 11/24. So at that time, Bitcoin was over 10 billion. And then you look at Grayscale Ethereum Trust, so about 1.6 billion and everything else, right? So obviously the two biggest draws is Bitcoin and Ethereum at this point. So you look at today, so Bitcoin is approaching 10.3. Okay, so they added 300, or at least the clients added 300 million more Bitcoin week over week, right? This is what I'm saying. If you calculate how much Bitcoin gets mined per day, 900 times 7 times the current price of, let's say, 19,000, you'll see that it does not equate to 300 million per week, okay? Which means Grayscale themselves, their clients is buying up more Bitcoins than what is being produced right now. And that's just one company. 300 million, that's a lot, okay? But if you take a look at Ethereum, it's also grown substantially. Now it's over 1.6 billion. So there is a lot of people that also is looking into Ethereum at this time, especially since they just launched their new beacon chain and they're getting ready to transition to Ethereum 2.0, right? So this proves my point, right? This is clearly, this clearly shows how much interest there is among institutional investors at this time. They are FOMOing, they're FOMOing hard, and this is not going to stop, which is why Bitcoin, if it dips like this, if the whales are trying their whale games, this is it. And there's a V-shaped recovery right away, right? If this was back in 2018 or 2019 and this kind of dip initiated, I would not be surprised if Bitcoin fell all the way back down to like even 10,000 before slowly coming up, or 12,000 or 14,000. The reason why it stopped is because institutional investors like, okay, thank you. Thank you for helping us accumulate more. And they just bought all of it up and it started coming back up in a big way, right? So, so you got to follow the smart money, guys. This is the smart money, the big money. They're accumulating as much as possible because they know there's a finite supply. Just think about it. I made this analogy over the years. Think about if all the oil producers in the world all of a sudden, and they tried this before, but it didn't because it wasn't true. But think about all the oil producers in the world and even countries around the world. They could detect exactly how much oil is left, and they could predict that, within the next 10 years, there's going to be no more oil, right? Think about how much oil will appreciate overnight, right? If all of a sudden people know that oil is going to be done in 10 years, gas price per gallon for gas will probably triple or quadruple or tenfold overnight. That's the thing with Bitcoin. We know there's a set supply, right? Unlike everything else where it's, you can always find more. You never know, right? And there's asteroids, floating out in space with trillions, quadrillions of gold too. I mean, there's no set supply for any of those things. But there is a set supply for Bitcoin because it's controlled by code and controlled by math, right? So these institutions, I think they realize that. Going forward, they're like, well, there's not that many left that's going to be produced. And there's just so many out there, right? We better accumulate as much as possible because these guys, they want that power, right? So you got to follow the big money and smart money. Now, there is something I want to cover, and it talks, and I'm going to kind of glance over this too because it relates to something that I just did. So Ripple sees explosive 1,151% trading volume, right? I'm not going to cover this story because I did start a new channel called Crypto Today. And that's the very first video I talked about, right? So I know some of you guys enjoy watching me live, which is great. I'm going to continue to do so on CryptosRUs. But if you enjoy shorter segments, you don't have time to tune in every day, then subscribe to Crypto Today. This is the whole point of that channel is going to be short segments, news bursts about random things that I think is important. So if you want that, then make sure you subscribe. I have the link in the description below, and you can hear my thoughts on XRP's explosive gains, right? So make sure you subscribe. It's pinned to the comment of this video. All right, what else is there? Peter Schiff. I mentioned how he's probably not having a good week or a good month because of gold, and gold is just basically crashing at this point. It's crashed to basically where it started 11 years ago. But basically, he's predicting that the US dollar is going to have the worst year ever in 2021 because of the monetary policy and everything else that's going on, right? So if that actually comes true, not only does it help gold, supposedly, I'm going to do air quotes because I don't know if it's really going to help gold at this point. But I do know that it's definitely going to help Bitcoin. That's for sure. Bitcoin is going to benefit in a big way as USD devalues. That is why all these billionaires are coming out and saying to buy Bitcoin. That is the reason why they're buying Bitcoin. Not so much. These billionaires, yeah, sure, they care about making more money, but they care more about preserving their money. And they're buying Bitcoin right now as a hedge because of this same thought process that, yes, there will be some kind of consequence to the economic and monetary policies, and fiat could devaluate. It could totally inflate to an unknown level, right? And this is what Peter Schiff is saying, and that is what they're saying. And that's why they're all buying Bitcoin. So if this comes true, it's only going to help Bitcoin. And that's good for Bitcoin. All right. Lastly, Newsweek. I've talked about how FOMO is starting with the news outlets. Newsweek, pretty big. They're starting to talk about Bitcoin. I like this headline. Bitcoin, an overnight success, a decade in the making. Because for newcomers in the space, this is how they feel like. Oh, Bitcoin just shot up to 20,000 out of nowhere, right? Like it did overnight. No, it's been a decade in the making. It's been more than a decade. It's been slowly rising up. We had many, many halving events. We had a lot of big up and downs, right? But now it is being recognized. It's getting global attention. It is being adopted, right? So this overnight success for some people is actually really a decade in the making. So I actually really do enjoy that title. Lastly, someone pointed this out at the beginning of the stream. VeChain. VeChain partners with U.S. firm to power a $102 billion seafood industry. So I never heard of this company. Maybe you guys have. No Seafood. They are going to be using the Storybird application, which is powered by VeChain, for transparent basic deliveries, utilizing within their supply chain, right? So this is what VeChain is really built for, supply chain. And I've always said VeChain has the biggest partners in the world, not just in China, but primarily in China, but all over the world. So VeChain is going to be a top 10 project in the near future. And they keep continuing to form these huge partnerships and alliances. And these are not like, I know a lot of people is distrusting of partnerships in crypto, and I realize that because sometimes someone uses someone's tool or whatever and they call it a partnership and it's really not. But this kind of stuff is, okay? You can't fake this, especially with a partner this big, right? And same thing with Hire, same thing with Walmart of China, same thing with the China Mobile and everything else, that all these big companies that VeChain is partnered up with. So just a matter of time. Just a matter of time before it shoots up. So thank you to whoever brought that up. All right. I think that's pretty much it. So I'll turn to you guys. Let's do some Q&A. Low roller. I used to watch Graham a little bit. I know he talked about Bitcoin before. I mean, he was interested. He talks about all things money, and he did talk about Bitcoin before. So I'm not surprised by that. Why so little participation with Binance US? What do you mean? Binance US is pretty big. A lot of traction. I've not looked at dollar bill in months. Urban, I've told that story a long time, but I guess I could tell it again. Does Grayscale invest in XRP and XLM? Well, according to this, yes, but very little. Very little in XRP. And Stellar, even smaller. So yes, but very, very small. Colombian, I don't think you should ever stop at 1. If you've accumulated 1, go for 2, go for 10. The name of the game, in my opinion, is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can. Now, altcoins serve their purpose, but ultimately, I believe altcoins serve the purpose of helping you gain more Bitcoin. So I think nothing's going to replace Bitcoin in the future. So accumulate as much as possible. Calvin, appreciate that. Appreciate Tech Boy. Thoughts on Wi-Fi, I guess. Why is it so high so early in its life? It's because there's a lot of people that shilled it before. And also because there's just a limited supply. So this still boggles my mind why some people still doesn't understand this, but so don't take offense to that. Just like some people were confused on like when people ask like, oh, can VeChain go to like 200 or XRP go to 589, right? It's because you got to look at the supply. There are certain things that can reach a certain level and it's attainable, but there are certain things that is not attainable. The reason why Yearn is so high is because they're worth at $1 billion. Okay, that's equal to a lot of the DeFi projects out there, but there's only 30,000 coins out there. That is why it's so high. It was pumped up by Arthur Hayes and others. They got pumped up, but ultimately it's hot in DeFi, which is why it's high. But if you look at something like Aave, which is at $1 billion, okay, it has a higher market cap, but the reason why it's at $88, which is really high already, why it's at $88 and not $30,000 is because there's more circulating supply out there. There's more coins out there, right? So before you guys ask me like, oh, can VeChain hit $20? Probably not because of how much is out there. You got to be reasonable. You got to do the math, and this just flaked out on me. Okay, so I don't know why that's not working. Let's try to bring it up this way. If I can find them. So they're at $1 billion already, right? But they're at 1 cent at $1 billion. So this is equal to Yearn and equal to Aave, right? And a little bit higher than Uniswap, but they're all around there. Right, so if you ask, can it go to $20? That means it would have to go up 2,000 times, right? So it would give it like, I don't know, 2 trillion market cap or 20 trillion market cap. That's not reasonable, at least not within a short amount of time, right? So in case you guys still don't know how to calculate what market cap is, it's simply a supply of the tokens that's out there times the price. Right, so hopefully that helps you guys understand a little bit. I don't know if TRX is dead. Tron is not dead. It's just that there's not a lot of things that people are excited about with Tron right now. Because Justin has pretty much shilled everything there is to shill. So right now it's just kind of holding. I think it'll get its day. We've been seeing a lot of protocols pump up randomly. So they're at number 17. right next to Tezos. I have no doubt that they'll probably experience a pump. They could get higher than where they are now. But I think people are just like kind of tired of Justin's marketing hype. So it seems like nothing they announce, nothing they do really helps them pump up right now. But whatever. They're good. They have a lot of things going for them. It's just about executing. Rich buddy, hey, yes, Justin did. It was a very like closed and secret meeting, so so there was not much done. He gave Warren, I believe, one BTC on a ledger, and then Justin claimed that Warren Buffett now owns BTC, and then Warren's like, no, that's not true because he just gave that to his foundation, who just sold it and put it in the foundation. So he still doesn't own any Bitcoin. That was like last year or something. Low roller, yes, yes, I did, and you get low roller. You get so excited about certain topics. Yes, I don't doubt that, and it's good that you're excited about it. Yes, a lot of people made a lot of money simply by buying and holding Bitcoin early. That's still name of the game. So just chill, just chill. Nulls is still executing. Nulls just, it fell down to an ultra low cap, so it hasn't moved much. But when altcoin season comes, I think people will pay attention to it again. And hopefully it can gain that momentum. But right now, altcoins that are low caps, small caps, ultra small caps, they're still having a hard time coming up. Because people still, the confidence is still not there. They're trusting Bitcoin and the bigger altcoins. So Nulls is still executing. I know that. And they have done a lot. They're trying to market. They're trying to promote. So I might help them with that. So I haven't given up. I still have my Nulls. I still hold them. So I'm waiting for altcoin season. So I do think like Nulls and others, they will come back up. Gary, come on. What kind of question is that? Have you watched any of my videos before? No, I'm not. And if you didn't watch this one, scroll to the beginning. Do you think this will be your last job ever? Or do you want to start your business involving crypto or cars? I think this will be my last job. I think, in terms of the potential, I'll just say I'm a YouTuber, but really it's more than that. But the potential of YouTube is just enormous. And those of you guys have seen other people that reveal how much they make, right? You'll see. It's crazy. It's ludicrous money. So yeah, I think hopefully this will be my last job. Basically just sticking with the channels I have, maybe a couple new ones, like this new one that I just created, Crypto Today, with shorter crypto videos. Hopefully this one will also take off, but yeah, I don't anticipate I'm gonna be doing anything else. Maybe get into real estate. A lot of YouTubers make a lot, not only from the videos but also Patreon. And you don't have to be one of the big boys. I don't know if Ricky Rance was referring to me or anyone else, but no, you don't have to be one of the big dogs to make serious money on YouTube. What car are you buying when we moon? Well, I recently bought a Model Y, and I've been making a lot of videos about it, but overall, I do really think it's one of the best cars I've ever owned. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Cybertruck when it comes out, the tri-motor Cybertruck, so I'll probably get that next. I can't. This is not a stock channel. This is not Mad Money. I can't tell you about Mondera and Spirit, but I can say I mentioned this and I posted in Patreon. If there are stocks that relate to Bitcoin, I might start looking at those. For example, MicroStrategy. They have been on a absolute tear, right? And same thing with Square has been on an absolute tear because of their involvement with Bitcoin. So a lot of companies that's getting involved with Bitcoin is doing really, really well. So if you're into stocks too, then I would say check out companies. I think tech companies are going to be doing well. I still think Tesla is too overvalued, but you know what? They might, once they enable their auto driving, it could shoot their stock up fivefold from here. And according to Elon, that's coming in 2021. Because once you get full self-driving, where the car could literally drive for you without intervention, it basically will destroy Uber if you think about it. But yeah, I would say look into stocks that are big tech or ones that's involved with Bitcoin. The very first, no, not in the description, in the comments. I didn't put it in the description, but I will though, in case you guys need it. There you go. Yeah, it's such a new channel, you won't even find it during search, but hopefully you guys can make it big. Pfizer's not gonna make any money from COVID, so their vaccine. These kind of vaccines are like mandated, so they're not gonna make much from it. So I wouldn't buy any Pfizer. That's me. And nothing I say, by the way, is financial advice. Just my opinion. Why are you not liking Jack Dorsey? Because of the censorship with Twitter? You know, he's talked about how he wants to move Twitter to decentralized or make a decentralized version of Twitter, right? So then, if that comes true, there's no more censorship. Hopefully, if that's the thing. Dean, after a heck of a lot of research, I discovered DeFi-related projects have their own cycle, with the upcycle beginning now. Well, first of all, congratulations, and thanks for joining. But all altcoin projects, any project in this space have their own cycles, right? The cycle is, you can look at TA. They all follow certain cycle in terms of being overbought, oversold. Those are on shorter time frames. On the longer time frames, it really depends on how popular they are and how much, money is being put in by the pump groups. I hate to say that, but it's true, right? DeFi is definitely hot right now. Very, very, very hot. And they have their swings up and down, right? When Bitcoin fell like this, over the weekend, almost all of them catered, but now they're coming back up just like Bitcoin, right? But if you look at it, they all have their cycles. I mean, that's the name of the game. Even stocks. That's why, you could try to day trade or swing trade, and sometimes it works out. But for something like Bitcoin, I've come to believe that it's just better to, dollar cost average over the long haul, set a schedule for yourself, and just get rid of that stress, because that actually works better. What do you think about staking on Binance? I think, yeah. I mean, if you're looking at like someone like Binance and Coinbase where they're staking, yeah, I would say they're trustworthy. They're so big and they're so scrutinized and regulated. I doubt that they're going to be pulling anything fishy anytime soon. They might be behind some manipulations, there's no doubt about it, but there's no way that these two exchanges are going to be pulling an exit scam or anything like that. Mike, you might be waiting forever. That's the thing. Someone asked me about that too recently, and I don't remember who it was or what the end result was, but I think when we were coming down one of these days when I streamed, it could have been like Thursday, Friday last week, and someone in the audience said, "Hey, I sold my 2 Bitcoin 19.5. I timed it pretty good. When should I buy back?" Right? And I think we were at like 17,000 at that time. And I'm like, you know what? You're already up. You could buy back, and you're buying more than 2 now. You're buying 2.2 or something like that. just go ahead and do it because you're already up. It's guaranteed. Now you have earned more Bitcoin. Don't risk it, right? He's like, no, I'm going to wait for longer. Or I think he said, I'll buy some, right? Now, if he waited and timed it at 16.2, okay, great. Then he would have made more. But if he was waiting and he's like, oh, 16.2 is not ready, not bottom, it's going to go lower, guess what? He misses his opportunity, right? I mean, it came right back up. So whatever opportunity he had to buy a 17 or whatever is gone, right? So it's really hard to time top or bottom. That's why if you're in a green, you could take profits or you could buy back, and you're already up. Go ahead and do so because you never know what may happen, right? Who knows? Maybe in 2 hours, maybe in 3 hours, we pump up to 20,000. You just don't know. It could happen. So that's why I come to believe with Bitcoin, the people that have held the longest have made the most, right? So the people that have simply bought and hodled and just kept holding and holding and holding, they're the ones that made the most. So that's the name of the game. What is your BTC top price before the bull run? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I thought I was going to, thanks for reminding me. I was going to show this. And then we'll end it with this. So this is something that I've shown for a long time. And I'm proud to say I think I'm the first guy that said Bitcoin could hit 300,000 when it was unpopular to say so. And people just like, you're crazy. Because I was saying it even when Bitcoin was at 6,000. And people just couldn't believe it. So this is the last 4-year cycle. It took about 900 something days to get from peak to peak, from high to high, right? It went down about 86%. And after it did, and that was basically the beginning of New Year, then it went up 1,500%. That was 2017. So most of you guys that have been holding for 2017, you got in the latter half, but luckily, I got back in 2017, early on. So I bought a few Bitcoins when it was at $2,000. So I got in pretty early, and then I kind of built upon that in 2017. But, for those of you guys that didn't know, when I got in first was when this happened, right? I got in Litecoin mining and Bitcoin back in 2013. But I got in when it was coming down. Okay, so when I was mining Litecoin at that time, it hit as high as $40, and then it started coming down. So I got out of Litecoin mining was $8. And I remember that, and I had a ton of Litecoin, a ton. And I converted to Bitcoin, and I remember Bitcoin was falling like a rock. So I was like, man, how did I spend it? I was desperately trying to spend it. I was buying frivolous stuff just so I could spend my Bitcoin because at that time, I did not believe. I'm like, Bitcoin is done. This bubble's done. It's gonna go to nothing. So I really regret that. That's one of the things I took from that experience is Bitcoin just doesn't die, and you can't fall for the fears. It will go down, but don't fall for it because it'll come right back up. But anyways, that's my story. That's how I got in, and you could see that it did fall down. Bitcoin went to $160 from $1,200. Slowly recovered, right? It took almost 1,000 days, and then boom. That's the last year. That's right after the halving event. The last halving event that happened in 2016, and what followed that is 1,500% increase. So this is the current 4-year cycle, right? So I drew this out, I think, in January, February. At that time, we were doing pretty good, right? But then we did have a drop in March, right, because of the stock market and COVID and everything, right? But at the time, okay, somewhere like this. We're going to be at 20,000 by year end, okay? And then afterwards, 1,500%, just like last time. So, of course, we had a halving event this year too, and inflation for Bitcoin decreases. But you could see we recover up faster than what I even originally anticipated. Right? We just had basically a V-shaped recovery and then boom, right back up, right? So now we're entering 2021. So if we have the same kind of explosive growth of 1,500% from 20,000, that puts Bitcoin over 300,000, 305,000 to be exact, right? And even if it falls down 86%, just like the last few times, 86% or 84%, even if it falls down 86%, that still puts Bitcoin around $45,000, right? That is still triple than where it is now. So, yeah, that is why 2021 is going to be explosive. It's going to be explosive. Even if it doesn't go up 1,500%, okay? Even if it goes up 1,000%, you know, it's still going to be above 200,000. So yeah, this is definitely a time to be excited because it is going to be exciting. So that's my prediction. End of 2021, I'm sticking with it, 300,000. And now everyone is thinking the same thing. Citibank came out last month and said Bitcoin can hit 300,000 by end of 2021. And now Willy Woo is also saying, yeah, it's going to hit 300,000 by 2021. But I've said that when it was unpopular to say. I was saying that when we were down like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I was saying that already. But people didn't want to believe at that time. And I think people still don't want to believe at now. But I'm telling you, after 20,000, you know, things will go wild. After 20,000, it's the unknown. Okay? Like everything that we have right now for Bitcoin, all the charts, everything, every resistance and every level, everything is based on past experience, right? What Bitcoin has done in the past. And everything is under 20,000. Once you go above, it's nothing. It's unknown. You know, who knows what's going to happen? It could shoot up to 100,000 like instantly. You don't know. There's nothing to correlate after 20,000. And we're right at the cusp of that. I mean, just think about it. We're right there. We're right there. And I can't even imagine. All right, anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. Keep this one a little bit shorter. But overall, BlackRock becoming more bullish on Bitcoin. Institutional investors are getting more bullish and FOMO's kicking in. You know, regardless of what's going on with Bitcoin, short term, long term, man, it's just doing its thing, going up and up and up and up. And I think 20,000 is still coming this week. Yes, this week. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm wrong, so be it. But I do think, you know, today, tomorrow, Friday, and the weekend, we're going to see some explosiveness in a good way. In a very, very good way. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe to the channel. Check out my Patreon if you want to talk to me and have some more exclusive content. And check out my new channel and subscribe. I'll put it in the description, but it's in the comment already. It's going to be based on short segment videos, right? So those of you guys that don't have time to tune into my live streams, then check out these videos, and hopefully you guys enjoy them too. All right. Take care, guys. Since I do have XRP up, I do have something important to share with you guys about XRP, so take a listen.
What do you think about Ripple?
Well, I mean, I think it's too centralized, but I definitely want to meet Chris Larson.